I haven't yet reached my final destination. My final destination is that way. There's a big bridge, a very big bridge over there that goes over a river. So I came out this morning with that in mind. So I'm almost there. But I turned right instead of left to come down here just to chill for a second. There's no shade. It's only about 82 degrees, so it's perfect. And of course, everywhere you go, I came through a bunch of little towns and villages and areas. There's a main road that runs here. And it's always a treat to see the different topography and the different ways that some of these villages and towns and little cities or what have you are put together. Some of them, of course, are quite old. They've been around for ages with very little in the way of supportive or updated infrastructure. Some of this shit goes back to the 1950s. And because Vietnam is a developing country and they've only started to dip their toes into capitalism in about the last 40 to 45 years, since the mid 80s, they, as I have said many times, got a long way to go. There's so much stuff here that is old and undeveloped and disorganized, but it is part of the culture. It is part of kind of like stepping back in time, going back 40 to 45 years when things were simpler and a little more, I think a little more of a better feel in terms of a lack of technology, a lack of chaos. Of course, everybody in Vietnam has a cell phone, but the way that they're relegated to have to do things because they're not a fully modernized country, far from it. There's still a very, very simplified structure here. You can go into Ho Chi Minh City and, it's modern and they have a subway and a tram and an L line and malls and all kind of great buildings and pretty decent infrastructure for the largest city in the country. But you come out here outside of it and, you go way, way back to, you don't have all that modern bullshit. You still have an older way of approaching life, an older way of doing things. Part of the reason I turned, of course, as you can see, it's a nice little view of the mountains here. This road, I don't know, they're building it out here, maybe just a little bit of repair work. Maybe they're trying to extend it. There's really, it just dead ends right to the mountains, so I'm not sure. I think that's why I'm saying they're just doing a little bit of a section of repair work here. I see an older bridge down there, and I know if I go too far down, they're going to be like, whoa, 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 dumb foreigner, stop, turn around. So I just came this far. There's a smaller metal bridge I can see now down there, and I'm looking at this old man that just rode by on the motorbike. I'm like, okay, where are you going? And maybe you can drive through the construction to get to where you have to go, if you have to go there. Maybe they left a little path open. Nice view of the mountains. I was, let's just say, located in Hawaii on Oahu 50 years ago. And I remember going out and around the island and, you know, tropical, like Vietnam is tropical, you know, adjacent to the sea, to the ocean, and a lot of mountains. So Vietnam kind of sort of reminds me of that from way back then. A lot of pineapple plantations, a lot of farming, including rice in Hawaii, corn and all kind of other shit. And so this kind of reminds me a little bit of it, because you could go to places there and you could do a circle. Now when I get to the bridge over there on the other side, there's another view of another series of tall mountains back here. So I can almost do a 360 and see mountains as I turn everywhere. And so it kind of reminds me a little bit of that, a little bit of nostalgia, if you will, because they had a lot of roads like this in the back areas of the island, and you could stop, and they had little shops and little places to eat. And you know, we're talking 50 years ago, of course, before the internet, before cell phones, before computers, before all that. So Vietnam sometimes reminds me of that. You know, like this little farm here, you know, adjacent to the mountains, and you got rivers and streams and lakes. It's nice. So they collected all the rice, the harvest throughout the central portion of Vietnam is complete, about 90% complete. They're still drying it, bagging it, you know, filtering it, and then shipping it off for sale. So this is the post portion of that, which you've seen many times. After the rice is harvested, all the hay and chaff is collected for the livestock and what have you, and then the fields are burned. You know, you have a quote unquote a burning season, which I really wouldn't call it that, because you know, it's nothing even approaching the insanity of the Thai burning season, which is renowned for being so bad that people just leave the area until it's over. You know, and there's warnings about it, and you know, you don't visit like Chiang Mai and some of the other areas of Thailand during the burning season because it's so bad. Here they burn it, and then they turn it over, and then they soak it, and then they turn it into a slurry, and then they plant more rice. The cycle repeats itself. I can't get too much closer. I'm going to zoom in, and then it's for my own sake. When I get home, download the video, put it on the big screen, I'll be able to make out details from my zoom. But it almost looks like there's something up this road, this center, up into this mountain. I see a few more roads over there. I see some kind of structures, and I'm like, those can't possibly be homes. But if they are, that'd be cool as hell. Another little detail I'm seeing is there's a big stand of trees right here that is really kind of odd, right on the top of a portion of the elevation. And that's got to be, it looks very thick, and that's got to be very cool if you could get inside there and string up a hammock and just chill out. Yeah, there's some little dirt bike, motorbike paths I can see here and there. I see some electrical towers running through, which of course would have to be serviced, so there'd have to be a way to get to them. I don't think they have to be serviced a lot or often, but it's nice. Nice to look at the green mountains with the cloud over them and on a beautiful sunny morning. Vietnam has a lot of unexplored territory for me and for my wife in terms of getting into and close to some of the national parks, getting up into the mountains. I know there are places and ways that you can do that. There's a lot of logistical issues that come with that are a little bit annoying to me. Like we visited Sapa a few years ago, and that was a very, very awesome, great trip. But we flew into Hanoi. We stayed in Hanoi for, I think, one night maybe. And then the next day we took a sleeper bus, which we'll never do again. Sleeper buses are horrible. We took a sleeper bus to Sapa. It was like a 6-hour drive. And then we were coming back from Sapa to Hanoi to fly back home, and it was like, no, we're not doing a sleeper bus. It's dangerous for one thing, because they drive like maniacs. So we took a private van back to Hanoi, which was much more comfortable and a little shorter, maybe 4.5 hours, maybe 5 hours. But that's typical of a lot of places here. If you want to get somewhere, and it goes back to the infrastructure and modernization that I'm talking about. You know, you still have to fly into the main cities, and then if you want to get out into nature and get out into the beauty and the serenity and the beautiful areas here, you know, it's anywhere from a 3 to 8 to 10 hour, drive to get to where you have to go. There's not enough freeways. And there's a fuel crisis that is going on because of what's happening with the war in Iran. And very soon, within a couple weeks, Vietnam is going to completely run out of gasoline, diesel fuel. And everything is going to shut down. Everything is going to come to a stop. And it's going to be quite horrifying, and it's going to be quite dire. Where they're doing this construction, for one example, that's going to end. There will be no diesel fuel for this. There will be no diesel fuel for any construction projects that are going on in Vietnam, and some of them are quite large, quite major. Like they're building airports, and they're building these vast factories. They're building cities and, resort towns and all kind of shit. In some cases, like the airport that they're finishing up in Ho Chi Minh City, which is a fantastic new airport, you're talking 10,000 workers on that thing. But with no diesel fuel, with no oil, and Vietnam imports almost 90% of its oil from Iran, from the Middle East. And that's, as you know, shut down. So in a few weeks, Vietnam is going to be in serious, serious trouble. So in terms of travel, the airlines are going to shut down. Everything's going to come to a stop. Everything is always related to fuel and oil, farming, construction, business, tourism, airlines, buses, trains, planes, and automobiles and motorbikes all are dependent on it. The energy structure, the energy grid is dependent upon it. Vietnam is going to come to a stop, a complete stop. and is going to get into an emergency situation, an emergency crisis of epic proportion. My wife and I are stocking up on food supplies, water, batteries, energy, 6 months worth of emergency supplies, because it's potentially and very highly likely that it's going to get that bad. I'm encouraged, I'm optimistic about it for my own personal reasons. I want to see tourism come to a complete stop, not just here in Vietnam, number one, but globally. There are too many assholes getting on planes and traveling around the world, most of them broke, most of them going into debt to do so. It doesn't make any sense. Tourism is insane post-COVID. After COVID, it seems like every jabroni and their mother wanted to get on a plane and start traveling the world. And with the economy and inflation and layoffs and job losses, particularly in the Western Hemisphere, it boggles my mind that these fools are all jumping on planes to YOLO all over the world. And with this Strait of Hormuz business, a lot of airlines are already jacking up prices. They're cutting thousands of flights, and I'm very hopeful, again, as I said, that tourism will be hit very, very hard. And I can go back to places like Da Nang and Hoi An, and I can travel possibly domestically at a higher price, mind you, which is, I don't care if it means that I can go to places in Vietnam and not see any of these annoying, just grotesque Westerners from America and Europe all over the damn place. I don't see them out here, of course. This is all strictly Vietnamese. Where I'm standing right now, I'm the only foreigner probably in a 100 square mile circle. And I love it. So yeah, let me get to this bridge. It is going to warm up today to about 90, I think. And it's not horrible, but it is not exactly, a place, excuse me, the kind of weather that you want to stand in one spot in the sun. Excuse me. So yeah, I got to keep it moving. Let me get over to that bridge and see what's over there. I'm interested to see what's on this other side of this bridge. It's a pretty big bridge. When I get to the other side of it, I think I'll stop and do another vlog.